I think this is the best time to be buying comic books like these. Hey there, today I have an unboxing video, and in this video I'm going to open up a number of comics that I won at auction from the comic book auction platform Hip Comic from the seller Infinity Comics. What I have learned over the years is to try to be more timely with the books that you're targeting and you're picking up. Certainly if you think about, I would say, more of the typical or obvious things like MCU show news, like you're not trying to buy comics when that news is released. You want to have it either before or well after. And timing is everything, really, when it comes to collecting comics. Trying to have comics at the right time, have them already graded. If a particular character pops or appears in a show or has some sort of news, or finding out that a character that was introduced decades ago is now interesting in today's market because of a story or one reason or another. And the other thing that I have learned is comics can be seasonal. And one of the things that I have talked about in the past is trying not to participate in seasonal comics, particularly for me, around the fall and Halloween. That is typically the time where I am interested in horror comics or other Halloween themed comic books, because I feel like a lot of the cover art and the themes of the book, it makes it a little interesting to display around these times. If you're doing some decorating or some showing off of some of your seasonal items, some of the books are pretty fun and interesting. Some are graphic, yes, but for the most part, they're kind of fun to display around these times. I will typically buy those comics around September and October as I'm getting into the spirit of that season. And then as the year goes on and looking into Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and things like that, then there's other seasonal books that I typically are more interested in, or they're eye-catching. And I think it's just sort of our nature as collectors and as people just to kind of be into those things around those times. And it's actually challenging for me to collect those types of books in the off season, but I do think it ends up paying off in the long run, because some of these books that I'm going to show you in this unboxing, they're always collectible, I think, for comic book collectors that appreciate this genre, these types of books from specific eras. Also looking at creators, cover artists of these titles. But what I'm talking about is sort of the mainstream audience, I don't think would generally appreciate these books year-round, but they're more likely to appreciate them during these seasonal holiday times. So I want to get to the unboxing and show you the titles that I'm talking about of some of these books that I won at auction. I'll let you know kind of what conditions I was targeting at auction. And as I review the books, hopefully those conditions line up with what was part of the item description. And then for my channel members, I will also make available the order summary video where I break down what I paid for the book, what was my final bid to acquire these books, what are they worth now as compared to fair market value of the book in raw condition, then also the values if I were to get the books graded. I'm always looking to add value to my collection, and I break that down in detail for channel members. So if you are interested in nerding out over the spreadsheet data and a lot of that information, please consider becoming a channel member by clicking join under this video, or by visiting my YouTube channel page, where you can find the membership details there for only 99 cents a month. Now I want to get to the unboxing. I'll show you what I picked up from a recent auction that I participated in from Infinity Comics. All right, this is the shipment that I received from Infinity Comics. They are super prompt with their shipping. It takes about a day after you pay for your auction wins for them to ship this out. They will typically send it out USPS priority mail. Shipping is reasonable. They don't offer free shipping. I also have to pay tax on these books as I am based in California, so there is a little bit of a premium in terms of tax and shipping that I have to pay, but I kind of offset that when I'm setting up my bid ranges and bid amounts and so forth. So for me, I don't mind spending the extra money if I can confidently rely and trust on the seller to send the books not only promptly but safely and securely, as you will see when I unbox these comics. All right, here we go. Let's take a look at this nice stack of comics here that I won at auction. The first book we're going to look at is House of Mystery, number 230. This was listed as a VF minus. This is from 1975, cover art by Luis Dominguez. And what I tried to do is target these specific issues because they are coveted by collectors of this genre and this era, looking at both Marvel and DC Bronze Age horror from the early to mid and late 70s. Next, continuing the run, this one, House of Mystery 221. This is cover art by Bernie Wrightson, and I really targeted this one. For some reason, like the concept of abandoned theme parks or creepy theme parks, something like that, that always gets me every time. I joke that Tomb of Dracula, where Dracula's on the roller coaster, there's something about that that always gets me. And here we have this skeleton riding on the carousel. And when I saw this, I'm like, man, I probably overbid for this one. And you can see there are color breaking ticks on this one. So I do need to find a better copy. But this is from 1973, cover date January 1974. And I would say certainly Wrightson is just maybe a tier above Dominguez in terms of the artists that you're looking for these types of books. Neil Adams, who hopefully I'll get to here in a moment, he's probably at the top, but certainly Wrightson is right up there. And I thought this was just a spectacular cover for House of Mystery 221. More House of Mystery. This is House of Mystery 218. This is cover art by George Evans, where we have somebody here on ice, and the security guard looks like he has found him. This one, too, probably got a little bit misled by the scan, as there is not only a stack increase, but the stack increase actually breaks color up and down here. These two were all in that VF minus range. This specifically was a fine, very fine. So again, just kind of, I probably lowered my minimum standards for some of these books just because there was a run of House of Mystery and other Bronze Age horror titles in this auction, and just figured while I'm here, let's go ahead and take a look at securing some of these books, even if they are in that maybe 6.5 to 7.0, where I'm really trying to target maybe 7.5 and above. And the reason I do that is because I feel like the books that are listed in very fine and above, they are more likely to have fewer spine ticks and color breaks, so that it has an opportunity for improvement. I don't know if a book like this could really be improved because of the number of color breaks, but an issue I didn't have, and I wanted to pick it up, a 20-cent cover, so I try to compromise with myself to go ahead and take a look at some of the books with the 20-cent covers. Speaking of, this is House of Mystery 215. This is back to Luis Dominguez on cover art. Similar aesthetic to House of Mystery 218 in terms of kind of the color, but we have one on ice and one being sculpted, where you could see the sculptor's work is coming to life to come to get him. This is from 1973 and also was listed as a fine, very fine at auction. Okay, just taking a quick break from the Bronze Age horror. This is Amazing Spider-Man 235. There always seems to be some ASMs that slip into Infinity Comics auctions. And again, what I'll do is I'll target certain grades, certain issues, non-keys, things of that nature. And if I can zoom in on the scan and I don't see a lot of color breaks, then I go ahead and place a bid. And it's usually like a low bid. These are kind of just, for me, take them or leave them. Like if I'm able to get them at a low enough price, then I'll be happy with them, but I'm not going to chase and outbid. But I would say condition-wise, like look at that top corner. That's super sharp, really nice looking corner, as is the bottom. And then just throughout the spine, I'll see if I can, it's hard with the glare, but essentially there's probably a dozen just non-color breaking ticks. up and down the spine. So possibly with a little humidity and a press, that would press out nicely and be hopefully a 9.8 candidate, but at least kind of in the nines is my thinking there. Okay, back to the Bronze Age horror run. This is Ghosts. So Ghosts, House of Mystery, House of Secrets, a few others from DC are ones that I target. This is Ghosts 32 from 1974, cover art by Nick Cardy. Cardy did a lot of covers of different titles in this era. This one has a lot going on for me. We've got skulls. I really like this cover by Cardy, and also this was listed in very fine condition. So if you're thinking of like kind of comparing a couple of the House of Mystery books that I had fine and very fine, and then looking at this in a VF, you can see the difference of kind of like how they grade, where the spine is pretty much spine tick free. What they'll do, it reminds me a little bit of Mile High Comics. There's a couple of hairline ticks right there, basically. And what they'll do kind of with Mile High Comics is they probably have a line that they draw where they say if there are no or very few spine ticks, but maybe on the back cover's a little dirty, or there's a delicate spine stacking crease or something like that, they just drop it all the way into the eights, into the VF range-ish, so to speak. And a lot of times that's where you can find those pressable defects, and so that's why I targeted books like Ghost 32, and then this one as well, Ghost number 12. This also featuring cover art by Nick Cardy, and I won at auction after being listed as a very fine. This one, the spine looks to be in really nice shape, very similar, but it does have a blunted corner at the top and with some color break there. And so these probably are not 9.8 candidates, but the goal is to try and see if they would be worthy of a clean and press to get them into the 9. So somewhere like a 9, a 9.2 is my realistic target for some of these. And in those grades, particularly if you can get white pages on these, they're certainly desirable among collectors at that VFNM and above. Okay, House of Mystery 232, another Luis Dominguez cover. We have the unmasking of this guy at the party. Lo and behold, he takes off the human mask, and there is a skull underneath. Some of these are just fun, just silly, goofy. Supposed to also be scary, but I kind of like the mix of. I mean, look at this guy. He's not all. I mean, that's pretty frightening. But looking at this, quite a few spine ticks, color breaks, and so on. This was a VF minus. I would put this in the fine, very fine category as well. I believe that with the sheer abundance of comics that Infinity Comics has to deal with, I don't really know how exactly precise their grading is, which can be of benefit to you as a bidder, but also a huge detractor, because if you don't have a lot of time and you're bidding on the listed condition, a book like that is probably where an example of where you could get taken, because if you just assume it's a VF minus and you're thinking minimal color breaks, that one's not going to work out. And then in other cases, you could do that. So I think if you buy a lot of books, on average, you'll end up doing well. But if you're kind of cherry picking certain books, that's one where it probably is, 6.5, a 7.0 in that shape, which is fine. It just wasn't a deal. I didn't really necessarily get a deal, and I'm looking for deals. All right, another break back to Marvel superhero comics. This is Avengers 198. This is not a key, but listed in very fine condition. Cover art by George Perez. And it was something I gave a quick once over, and it looked to be in really nice shape. Spine, very, very nice, slightly miswrapped, but I can see one color break right here where there's a dent, certainly a pressable defect. But these are the type of books, sometimes they get overlooked. Like if some of the Infinity Comics auctions has a theme, like in this case, the theme was definitely Bronze Age horror, then Avengers books, like sometimes I think that bidders will look at the general theme of the auction and go, I'm going to pass on this one. I'll maybe wait around for another run of superheroes, of Avengers, Amazing Spider-Man. And then a couple of these Avengers issues will just get listed as part of this 300 book lot at auction. And I paid less than $5 for that book. And to get that in high grade, that's where you have that potential value add. And so sometimes you can get a little bit of a sneaky deal when you're kind of working against the theme, kind of like working against the season, thinking I could get some of these House of Mystery, House of Secrets, and other books when people aren't necessarily in the market for those right at this time. Another book that maybe people aren't in the market for anymore, this is Daredevil number 11. And I say that because the Marvel MCU Echo show came out on Disney Plus. It wasn't well received. It kind of came and went. And when that happens, I think a lot of people think maybe not as highly as the actual comic book character, but the comic book character is what it is. It's always going to be inspiring. It's what inspired the show. They're going to have great storylines and so forth. So what's funny is no matter what happens or how the character's portrayed in the show, the comics are what they are. But for some reason, books like these just sort of tank in value. And you can see books today where we're talking about Fantastic Four rumors and casting news, and all of a sudden books out of nowhere are spiking. That's what happened to this book when Echo was announced. This is what happened this was 2-3 years ago when Echo was going to make an appearance in Hawkeye. And then there was speculation like, well, what if she shows up in Daredevil? Like, this was years in the making. And this is the third appearance of Echo, considered technically the first battle of Daredevil and Echo, although it doesn't look like they're battling here on the cover. In story, they are. And this is still an awesome book. Joe Quesada on cover art. David Mack, Joe Quesada, Jimmy Palmiotti collaborating on this one. Daredevil 11 from 2000. And I ended up winning this at auction for $1. So for me, a nice dollar pickup. Okay, now back to the theme and looking at some more great 20-cent Bronze Age horror. This is House of Secrets, number 111, cover art by Nick Cardy. This was listed in fine plus condition, so that is a 6.5. I can definitely see maybe a subscription crease or something like a subscription crease right down the middle of the book, and then lots of color breaking ticks here. But I don't have a lot of these, and so what I'm trying to do, what I do with a lot of my comics and a lot of my titles, is I try to acquire books that I would consider to be in high grade, and so maybe setting that minimum of a 6 or a 6.5 and above, and then as I go through and I collect issues and I add to them, I start to learn more about the issue, look at its collectability, and then I'm able to recognize it in future auctions. So maybe there's a chance that I would be on the lookout for like an 8.0 and continue to try and upgrade my issues of House of Secrets. But I always kind of give in to anything with a 20-cent cover. That's my preferred cover price. I feel like those are just becoming more and more scarce as time goes on. And here's another example. This is House of Secrets number 110. This is from 1973. I won this at auction. This was described as a VF minus copy. This is cover art by Luis Dominguez. Lots of fun stuff here on this cover. So she's investigating this coffin. Somebody's grabbing her from behind, but also is he deceased? There's really awesome storytelling here in this one specific image. And this, again, kind of what I was saying before, this would be something I would display around the time of Halloween. Like, this is just, it's fun, it's creepy, it's spooky, but it's not overly gory or anything like that. And that's kind of where I draw the line. Even this rat up here, just coming out of the jar up there. Super cool. Love this one. Great cover art by Dominguez. Next is House of Secrets, number 106. This one I targeted because this is cover art by Bernie Wrightson. This was one, I think, if you're just kind of maybe flipping through and maybe not stopping to look in a lot of detail, you could maybe pass it up. But the more that I looked at this, the more I thought I was really intrigued and wanted to pick up a copy. Again, just tremendous storytelling, ghoulish figures here, typical Wrightson where you've got a lot of the creepy tree imagery and shrubs and branches and so forth. And then also she's kind of discovered she's in a bit of trouble here. And how did she get there? There's a lot going on here. Again, there's that Wrightson signature. So really, really cool. Love this cover of House of Secrets 106. And again, just looking at the condition to get an idea of what to expect. This was one listed as a fine, very fine. You can see again where I'm talking about the kind of threshold of condition where I would say anything under a VF, you are going to see a number of color breaking ticks like you would on this copy. And so if you are, I mean, you're going to pay a premium, obviously, for the books that are in higher grade, even listed in higher grade, because you do have those sort of like robot bidders that look at specific grades and only bid on those. And sometimes you can find these under VF for a pretty decent deal. All right, and then just sort of mixed in with the batch here, Crisis on Infinite Earths #7. Infinity Comics will do this where they have a whole run of a limited series. They will fairly often, I would say maybe once every couple of months, they'll have like the full Crisis run. And always love trying to pick up Crisis #7 from 1985. This is the death of Supergirl, the famous death of Supergirl issue with Superman holding her on the cover. More George Perez greatness here. This was listed as a VF copy, and just giving it a quick overview, it looks like there will be some non-color breaking ticks and then just some slight color loss down there on the corner, but not bad otherwise. So really happy to get that in my collection, trying to get a full run of Crisis in high grade. And the last book, House of Secrets #90. This is cover art by Neil Adams. This is from 1971, and I picked this up at auction where it was listed as a fine minus. This is probably as low a grade as I will go to pick up a book raw. I still think I got it at a pretty good deal, but there's a lot of creasing in here, which on one hand is good because I think they're pressable defects, a lot of pressable creases kind of going back and forth here along the cover. And certainly it has its share of color breaking ticks. So I think it certainly fits the bill of being a 5.5. To me, a 5.5, you start to see the crumbling of the top cover, which you can see here. We've got just a little bit of a flap with a color break, and then you can see the top edge. To me, this is like the prototypical 5.5, where the top edge looks like that. Same thing with the bottom. So this would probably be a true and accurate grade. Could make the argument could start to dip into the 4.5 or 5 range, but it was hard for me to pass up on a Neil Adams cover, particularly at the price. And it really comes down to me just educating myself and learning and trying to figure out what are the tiers of artists and creators that have worked on House of Secrets, House of Mystery, which ones are targeted, obviously Wrightson and Adams, but what are some secondary creators, secondary, like I would say tropes or themes. Here we have a haunted house, a floating haunted house, and then the hands coming through the book. You don't know what that is. A damsel in distress. Also space. Why not? Why not have it all in there? But this is a very cool 15-cent cover. House of Secrets #90. And there's always going to be those collectors that are looking for not only Bronze Age horror, but also certain specific creators regardless. You have George Perez, Neil Adams, Bernie Wrightson, Luis Dominguez, just very, very cool, awesome. Even Joe Quesada, David Mack. That's really what I try, is to make sure that even if I do end up with some books in a lesser grade, just to always make sure that you're finding books that are desirable in the long run. And while the desirability cannot just be about the comic, I don't plan on having a live claim sale where I just show the book and say high grade copy of House of Secrets. We'll start the claim at $150 or something crazy. Condition matters. And so I'm going to look forward to going through and just kind of seeing on average, how do these books grade out? Because like I was saying during the unboxing and the reveal of the comics themselves, sometimes I'm not suggesting that bots are bidding on these books, but I'm saying a lot of the bidders are robotic, where I have seen patterns of people coming in and targeting, like they'll target keys VF plus and above, and there's like maybe 6 or 7 bidders, and they come in really hot and heavy for those specific books. And then you can find maybe secondary genre or some nuances within a particular auction, maybe lowering my standards a little bit as people have kind of maybe considered Infinity Comics to be a honey hole of sorts. Then I have to, shift a bit and figure out, okay, what are some books that I want to target? Where can I find maybe a grade or two less than my ideal grade, But if I can get it for, like 80% of what I would pay at that next grade, maybe it starts to make sense. And I'm always trying to bid on books that have some potential value add in terms of pressing and cleaning, or just, it's sort of traditional buy low, sell high sort of approach, where if I'm going to compromise on a grade, maybe I don't put in my max bid. Maybe I put in my ideal or minimum bid or something like that. And that's how some of these worked out. Like this Daredevil 11, it's not like I was out seeking it out specifically, but to get that for $1, like it's totally worth it, and it still has a little bit of residual value from when that book was spiking over speculation, over Echo. So there's lots of different ways to look at some of these books. You don't have to get caught up and compete and fight with some of these robotic bidders. You can find a lot of great value across the board if you spend the time and do the research. And I am continually trying to become more knowledgeable in the hobby, and Bronze Age horror is certainly a genre that I'm going to continue to learn about and get better at, and just try not to buy in October. Let me know what you think about these pickups, or looking at comic books seasonally, or just different ways to think about, strategically looking for deals. I would love to hear your advice or suggestions about how you approach auctions like this, or just collecting in general. Feel free to leave me a comment. Thanks for watching. Happy collecting, and see you next time.